Alrighty, what is up everybody, it is your boy Farai. Thank you once again for tuning into another video. Definitely make sure to smash that like button. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to mix female rap vocals like Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B and Sweetie. I'm also going to be showing you how to do this with free plugins. So I'll play the mix that I've done and then we'll run over to a template that I've actually made using free VSTs and pretty much showing you how you can emulate my workflow. I have used analog gear on my mix, but doesn't mean that you can't get good results using free VST plugins. So with that being said, let's get straight into it. I'll play the mix real quick. This is from Beas. I'll leave her YouTube in the description. Go check her out. She's an up and coming artist. I think the song is really cool, and yeah, it kind of portrays that sound. What we went for was kind of a more club heavy, bass heavy song that will, you know, sound good on speakers, but also not have the vocal be too overpowering, still be present. You know, you do mix a female vocal a little bit differently to a male vocal. That's why I decided to make a separate template for this. But yeah, let's hop straight into it and then we'll break down some cool techniques. Let's get it.
I'm a bad bitch with a savage attitude. He said he wanna thrash it, but he ain't got the longitude. I know I'm money fast, and I think I got the cash flow. And I got these bitches inspired, where's the gratitude? I'm a bad bitch with a savage attitude. He said he wanna thrash it, but he ain't got the longitude. I know I'm money fast, and I think I got the cash flow. And I got these bitches inspired, where's the gratitude? You need I be blessing like at you, and won't even look at you. Cause my time is of the essence, and I need my wrist on cool. I'm on my way to lavish, yes, I need that heated pool. I've been on my ape shit lately, like I'm on that jungle juice. And I know these bitches envy me, I can't say I'm confused. Cause I'm a Maserati, she's a Regal Chevy Cruze. They low-key wanna be me, but there's nothing they can do. Bitch, you.
Alrighty, there you go, you get the idea. Pretty cool. Simple and sweet, man. You know what I did do actually was I've been making use of mix analog. That's why you can see I haven't really used many plugins on this mix, because I actually printed just another plug, man, for mix analog. If you actually sign up with them, you can actually run your audio through high-end analog gear. So I decided to actually use the LA2A. We'll do that just now on the free VST template, but I used a LA2A just so you know what's going on, to kind of just warm the vocal up. And then I had actually used the Studer tape machine, and I've also got a plugin that'll emulate the Studer tape machine. So that's what I did on the vocal. That's why I don't really have any plugins, because I had kind of processed it via analog, and then I mixed it down via my analog mix bus. So, you know, hopefully you get the idea of what's going on. We'll kind of focus first on the main vocal. So we'll hop over to this free VST version right here. And, you know, when it comes to main vocal, the first thing I'm doing, I didn't record the vocal, so the vocal did need a little bit of compression. But generally when I'm recording vocals like I'm recording right now, I'm going to be using a little bit of compression. So an 1176 compressor will be ideal as the first thing to hit the vocal. So as you can see, for those who are new to the template format, the way that you will record into one of these green channels. There is a video included that actually shows you how to set this all up, but there is a, you know, main vocal channel, and then I like to then have the compressor hit that first so that I can just kind of stabilize the vocal. I want to make sure that every word, every phrase is kind of at the same level so that we can mix the vocal without worrying too much about consistently having to kind of alter the automation, right? The compressor is just going to help kind of get everything to the same level. So that's what I like to do. You know, there's a NoiseGate as well included in all of the templates for those who know. So yeah, just a little bit of compression, man. Very light, 4:1. This is kind of emulating my 1176. It's just going to be doing a little bit of compression. So there you go. There's that. Second to that, man, just like I talked about from the mix analog side, again, I like to use multiple stages of compression. So I'm going to be you know, fast compressor, slow compressor. So this is going to be more of a slow compressor, and this is more of a vibe compressor. This adds quite a nice weight to the vocal. Oftentimes what I see with a lot of people who are mixing female vocals is you oftentimes boost way too much of the treble and remove too much of the low end, and you end up with a very thin sounding vocal. Some of the Megan Thee Stallion records end off like that, where they have a bit too much treble, whoever's mixing the stuff. But for example, you listen to WAP, it's a much cleaner top end. You know, some of her new stuff is a lot cleaner. So you want to make sure you're not overdoing the vocal in terms of treble. So a nice way to gain the weight and kind of get that character out of the vocal is to use a compressor. So this is a really cool compressor. This is 100% free from Analog Obsession. It is the Lala compressor, and I like to use just a little bit of gain. So I up the gain a little bit, turn up the peak reduction, which means compression, and all that does is kind of compress the vocal. So if I was to quickly just play the record, and I'll actually just turn this one on just so you can see how the meter moves and how I like to have the meter move.
I'm a bad bitch with a savage attitude. He said he wanna thrash it, but he ain't got the longitude. I know I'm money fast, and I think I got the cash flow. And I got these bitches inspired. Where's the gratitude?
So there you go. You can see how the meter is just pretty much kissing the vocal. And as you can see, it doesn't really change the character much, right? Because we have already used a very similar compressor like this. So after that, we then use tape, right? So we use the Studio Tape machine. I've closed that tab. But, tape on a vocal, man, this is kind of the secret sauce for more, vocals that need more mid presence, more kind of top end, but not over the top. Tape for me is perfect for doing this, right? It's going to pretty much pre-EQ your vocal and deal with the top end. So if you have a vocal that can be too trebly, a tape machine or a tape emulation VST, this is from Air Windows, this is again 100% free, it's going to just kind of smooth off that top end and then add a little bit of that low mid weight. So you can see how I'm pretty much using plugins to actually pre-EQ or pre-tone the vocal so that I don't have to kind of do too much detail work, because we want to keep a vocal as natural as possible. So this tape machine is going to allow me to add some slam. So some slam is going to add a little bit of weight onto the vocal, and then the bump, or actually the slam I think just increases the saturation, and then the bump is going to kind of lower the treble and kind of boost the lower mids. So just dealing with that a little bit, adding in a little bit is going to add such a nice flavor to your vocal. If I was to choose it on this end just so we can hear what's going on.
I'm a bad bitch with a savage attitude. He said he wanna thrash it, but he ain't got the longitude. I know I'm money fast, and I think I got the cash flow. And I got these bitches inspired. Where's the gratitude? I'm a bad bitch with a savage attitude. He said he wanna thrash it, but he ain't got the longitude. I know.
Even adding more tape onto this track adds a nice dimension. So, really cool. I really like this plugin. Again, Air Windows, go and check it out. Air Windows Tape, shout out to Chris, really cool plugin. So yeah, that's pretty much it. After that, man, what I've added onto this session, this is really going to help you, is I'm always going to be mixing with an SSL EQ. For those who know, I got an SSL console and I have these types of equalizers in hardware format, but it doesn't mean that you can't get a great sound using FreeVST. So this is the Analog Obsession solid state equalizer, SSQ, and it is beautiful, man. I mean, I've been testing the newer version. This is the newest version, which you should check out on Analog Obsession's Patreon. But again, if I was to mix a vocal in general, I'm always going to be doing the same thing, right? Doesn't matter if it's a male or female vocal. What I'm going to be doing is always rolling off the bottom end, meaning rolling off a little bit of that bass just to kind of clean the vocal up. And then what I'll do is I'll go to the low frequency band, and then I'll actually use the shelving EQ. So shelving looks like this, right? It basically means shelving. I don't know why they call it shelving, but it looks a bit like a ramp. But I'll go to 200 hertz, and then I'll always roll off a little bit of that low end, right? Just to kind of clean up the vocal and have it kind of sound blended in with the beat, right? Hip hop beats, pop beats are generally going to have quite a lot of low end and bass, so you don't want the vocal to clash with that. So after that, what I then do is I go to this low mid frequency section, and again I go to 200 hertz. This is kind of my SSL secret. And then what I then do is I just EQ out a little bit of 200. If we kind of look at what that does, it just does something like that. And again, our vocal EQ is going to look something like that, right? But we're using an analog style EQ, so we kind of have to use our ears to kind of see what's going on. But yeah, there you go. I like to add a little bit of 3K. That's been my kind of thing. I would recommend just kind of moving this around between, I would say, 5K and 3K. Every vocal is going to sound a little bit different, but the reason for me boosting a little bit of this high mid frequency, so it would be an EQ kind of around here. So as I said, between 3K and 5K, I just want to pop out a bit of the kind of intelligibility of the vocal, make the cadences pop out, right? So that's what I'm doing right there. And then last but not least, I'm always going to be using the treble band at 8K. That's the classic SSL boosting area. And that's just going to add a nice little lift to the vocal, help that vocal sparkle. So I'm generally using an EQ like this to tone, so once we've done our emulation, our analog stuff, we can then begin to kind of refine the vocal using this EQ. And if we wanted to get even more refined, we could then use a parametric equalizer. So a parametric equalizer is going to allow you to do a lot more intricate work. So with an SSL EQ, it's kind of more broad strokes, more toning. But again, here, generally, when it comes to female vocals, I'm going to be trying to dip away some way. You know, oftentimes you might have a bit of harshness, so you want to deal with that if it is needed. But again, these are just options that I've left for you in this template. So not really needed, but if you do find that maybe you do have somewhere in your vocal that sounds a bit too harsh, you can kind of just skim around using an EQ like this and just kind of find where it is and then maybe dip it a max of about 6 dB is how much I would do. But again, yeah, here's another style of EQ that you can try. I wouldn't recommend trying to stack up all three on top of each other. I would say 2 at max, 1 parametric and 1 more analog style EQ will do the job. So as you can see with this mix, I did use a de-esser. So I do find oftentimes sibilance is a problem when mixing female vocals. So you know, we're going to de-ess our vocals. Now this is what I call the fruity de-esser, but you can actually get away with de-essing by simply only compressing one band on a multi-band compressor. Now what does multi-band compression mean? It basically means that you are able to individually compress certain parts of a vocal. In this case, we want to deal with the treble, and so we are dealing with that kind of top blue band. And what I do is just kind of de-ess a little bit. I'll generally be de-essing this much so you can see how much is going on here. Let's just find a more trebly part of the track.
I be blessing like at you and won't even look at you, cause my time is of the essence and I need my wrist on cool. I'm on my way to lavish, yes I need that heated pool. I've been on my ape shit lately like I'm on that jungle juice, and I know these bitches envy me. I can't say I'm confused, cause I'm.
So you can hear we still want it bright, but we just want it tame. Okay, so that's what our de-ess is going to do. This to me is a great de-esser, or a great method to de-ess, simply by you can disable the bottom bands and then just leave the high band active, and then you can just compress it just a little bit, and that's how you de-ess in FL Studio with stock plugins. So beautiful stuff. Again, I'm always going to be using a bit of flanger on the main vocal. For those who know, I'm a big fan of using just a little bit of flanger on all vocals. I believe it adds a nice little tape style effect. Again, just kind of finalizing that more warm and analog tone. Tape is going to help you just kind of ease that vocal into the beat. So yeah, really cool stuff, man. I can show you a few other tricks. I did manipulate the beat just a little bit using the SSL EQ. So again, since you will have downloaded this EQ, you can also slap it onto the beat channel I actually have for you. So, you know, again, you can just pop out certain elements, maybe remove a little bit of the bass if you find the beat too kind of overpowering. You can then do that. I've got a mid-side EQ as well, which will help you just kind of ready your sound for Spotify and streaming, etc, etc. All sorts of cool things going on. If we kind of just cover the mastering section. So the way that I master is I run into compression, I then run into a kind of saturation bus, and then I run into a second compressor. So that's what we're going to be doing here. I'm using just a little bit of compression, right? Just the fruity compressor. You can use your standard door compressor for mastering, and nice 2:1 ratio. And you just want to pull the threshold down up until the point where you're kind of just kissing the kick drums or the bass or the loudest element in the mix. That's just going to help you kind of tuck the track back. I wish I had an extra camera. I would have shown you how much I'm compressing here, but I like to compress when mastering, just so I can get a bit more vibe, right? Just so I can really tuck the track in and not have all the elements sound different, right? So that's kind of the coming together of the track. So in this instance, again, I used a SSL as well. So I used the SSL bus compressor, so you can check this out. Again, I'm just doing about 1 to 2 dB of compression on the mix bus. This is a really nice mastering compressor, and on this mix, I actually did use the tape. I think the tape is a really great plugin. I used some stereo imaging, but the tape is what I used first, right? So you guys can try out just a little bit of tape on the master as well. It's gonna again help to smooth off that track. I oftentimes find that people have problems with getting that vocal treble with the beat treble to match up, and a tape plugin is going to help you just kind of smooth everything off so that it sounds more together. So really cool. I like to use a little bit of mastering EQ actually on my SSL Fusion. I've got a stereo image enhancer, so this is something that is going to help you just kind of widen up the stereo field within your track. You should try this out. You know, and just I just did a nice little analog cut, 30 Hertz, just to get rid of the bass. But yeah, other than that, man, just a little bit of mastering. I'm using bus color 4. I'll have to do a separate video on mastering again. It's a bit more complicated than that, but you know, the presets are there to help you kind of emulate a finished and polished sound. So yeah, man, hopefully you learned something in this video. As always, definitely make sure to smash like and subscribe. Check out some of the cool things that I have in the links below. I've got all sorts of cool plugins for FL Studio, vocal recording course, vocal mixing course, if you are interested in learning more about the process of actually recording yourself and getting better sounds within your DAW of choice. So yeah, man, I'll take you next time. Keep mixing. Peace out.